All right. Welcome everyone. Welcome. Moses, you welcome. Emmanuel, you welcome. Nafisat, you welcome. Always consistent. Adedeja Emide, you welcome. Evaristus, my guy, you welcome. What can I see here again? Okay, I can see Emmanuel, you welcome. Peace, you welcome. Tosin, you welcome. So if you're just joining us, you're welcome. There's a message that's been dropped on the group. We are live. If you're live, currently react to that message so that we can take notes that you're currently here. All right. You're welcome. I see you. Omogbemi, you're welcome. Adedeji Ayomide, you're welcome. So your class will be starting in 2 minutes by 12:05. We're going to kick off with introduction to database and SQL. So stay tuned, guys. All right, I can see more people joining. Ikma, you're welcome. If you're just joining us today, we're going to be taking SQL introduction to database and SQL. So make sure you get your notes ready to jot down. Today, instructor greatness is going to be taking you with that. So be ready and open your mind to learn new things today, right? So don't be scared because all we're doing today is just the introductory part, right? As you all know, introduction is very important in this tech industry, right? So it's 12:05 already. I'm going to hand over the mic to instructor greatness to go on with the class. So greatness, over to you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Can I get a thumbs up if you are hearing me? All right. So today we'll be taking introduction to database and SQL, and I'll be sharing my screen. Okay. So can you all see my screen? All right. So without wasting much of our time, introduction to database and SQL. Introduction to database. My name is Alabody Greatness, and I will be your instructor for today's class. This is a little bit about me. I'm a computer science student at Ocean State University. And you can also call me Messi. Don't mind the spelling, is still pronounced as Messi. And that's my tech stack. I'm proficient in Excel, Python, Power BI, SQL, NumPy, Pandas, and Matplotlib. And you can connect with me on X and also on LinkedIn. All right. So going straight into the class, we'll be taking what is database. What is a database? A database is a collection of a structured data that is stored electronically in a computer system. It stores data in a format using tables. A database is just like a record. Okay, it's in real life scenario now. Let's say in schools or in hospitals. In schools, if they want to store if they want to store records of students, the records of students, maybe their information, their name, their courses, the courses they take, age, class, and so on. Let's say they store it in maybe a file or a folder or a document. And if they need it, they have maybe a shelf where they arrange it, maybe based on year each student enter the school. So if they need it, they will have to go there and search and look for it. That's a long process. But when we talk about a database is just is the electronical version of you storing the data. So you having the data of a school of students in particular. So you can just store it in a database online in formats using tables. It's a place where you can store data, you can manipulate data, and you can retrieve data. So like I said, in a school database, you can have the student table, a table for teachers, and a table for courses. Of the tables contain information based based on students, based on data, and based on courses. So if you need it, you can just go to the data, retrieve particular data you need. Are you all following? All right. So moving on, let's talk about the features of a database. So a database is used for data storage. Like I said, it stores large amounts of information.
èwo nú ẹ̀ fígí àpù.
Data storage. It stores large amounts of. Sorry, Nafisat, can you please mute?
Àtúntò mi. Bisikíìtì ni.
All right. Greatness. I think you're the host, so you can mute Nafisa because she's making noise here.
No, really. Mi ì máa gbọ́ nǹkan tó ń sọ mọ́.
All right. So, features of database, data storage. It stores large amounts of information in tables. It stores large amounts of information in tables. So you can, like I said earlier, when you have records of students, you can store, when you have in a very large school where students are up to 1,000 or in a university settings, they make use of database. They use it to store large amounts of information in form of tables. Data retrieval. A database enables quick access to specific data using queries. So when you use queries, you'll be able to retrieve specific data. You can access the database through queries. When you write queries, you can say, okay, I want to retrieve data of particular students that maybe their name starts with A, or I want to retrieve data of particular students in a particular level, or students offering a particular course. So it makes it easy for you to retrieve data when they are stored in database, rather than you storing them in a folder on the shelf and you have to like scan through everything. Okay, this person is not in this class. Okay, this person is like this. So it enables quick access to specific data using queries. Now, data management. It facilitates data updates, deletions, and modifications. When you use database, you'll be able to manage your data efficiently. You can update your data. You can, okay, maybe a new student joined the school. You can add to the existing data. You can also delete, maybe a particular student is no more in the school and you don't need his record again. You can delete the student's data from the database if you are very sure you don't need it again. And you can also modify the record, you can also modify records in the table. Data security. It ensures your data is protected from unauthorized access. Like I said earlier, when you have records of students in a school, let me consider that example. When you have records of students in a particular school in a database, you can make sure your data is secured by granting access to only a specific set of people. There may be some, maybe teachers or lecturers in the school that, okay, you don't want this particular set of people to have access to this data, so you can just restrict access. You can say, okay, this particular set of people, I want them to only view the data, but I don't want them to make any changes to the data. And you can also make sure that, okay, some set of people can make changes to the data. Moving on, how database stores data. Database stores data in a structured format using tables, which are composed of rows and columns, just like an Excel spreadsheet, just like a spreadsheet package, just like this Excel workbook. You have rows, you have columns. Your rows are all those order ID, um, all those blue line, order ID, customer ID, products, traits like that. They are all rows, right? And columns are column A, column B, column C, column D, straight like vertically, and rows are horizontally. So database stores data in table formats, and each table represents a specific type of data. So from this picture, I hope you all can see it. So from the picture, you can see each a specific type of data. Under the products column, there's a specific type of data there. There's a specific type of data based on the products those customers are ordering. And the dates, you can also see there's a specific type of data. It's only the dates. Under the other dates, you are not seeing quantity. You are not seeing only a name of a product or something. Whatever you put as the column attributes, that is the type of data is only going to store. And each row in the table represents a single entity, such as a customer or a transaction. The columns define the attributes of the data, such as the customer's name, age, or account number. But from this sample table now, we can see that each column is, okay, each cell, should I say cell? Okay, each column is talking about, okay, the customer's order. You can see order ID and customer ID. They are like the keys for this table now. So there each row is talking about the products, it's talking about the order each customer has already placed, the quantity, the price, and so on. Each column must have a unique name. You can see each column, they have unique name. Those names are the product, region, order date, quantity, unit price. That's the name for each column. That's the unique name for it. And each cell has its own data type. In fact, it's each column. Each column has its own data type. Under the products, like I said, you can only see text. You can see text like shirts, shoes, hats. Those are like text formats. That's the data type for it, right? And for quantity, you can see numbers like 5, 10, 7. That's the data type for it. Under quantity, you cannot write a product name there. It's not going to work. It does not work that way. So moving on. What is a database management system? A database management system is a software that enables users to efficiently create, manage, and manipulate database. So, like I said earlier, we've talked about a database. We've talked about a database. Now, this database management system is just like the interface, is the software that will allow you to actually create your database and edit, modify, and do whatever you want on your database. It provides tools to store, retrieve, update, and delete data while ensuring your data is secured and consistent. Your The DBMS, database management system, it also facilitates data sharing among multiple users and applications. So the database management system is the software that will allow you to actually manage your database. You can have multiple database, but it will be the one to actually help you to organize them and also grant access to specific set of people. We can't just say, okay, database, a database, but where exactly are we going to be using that database? Where exactly, how are we going to access, how are we going to create, is a database management system that allows all that to work. So we have types of database. We have relational database, and we also have non-relational database. Are you all still following, please? All right. Okay. Okay. So we have relational database and we also have non-relational database. The relational database is the one that organizes data in form of into tables, just like the example you guys saw here. This table, this is an example of relational database, right? Okay. Each table is made up of rows and columns. There can't be a table if there's no row and column. And data in different tables can be linked using keys which serve as the relationship between them. So from the image, the picture on this side, you can see we have customers, we have products, we have employees, we have orders, right? So customers and orders. Let's say we have a table of customers and we also have a table of orders. And the order ID, customer ID, you can see that those are the attributes of that particular table. Those are the, should I say, column name of those particular tables. So you understand. If I'm using attributes, you may not get what I'm saying. So this is an example of relational database because they are linked using keys. You can see this orange line, I guess. This orange line joining customer ID from the customer tables to the other table. This customer ID with data type integer. You can use it as a key to link the two tables together. So you can just have a complete table showing each customer and the order for. And the examples of database of relational database, we have MySQL, we have PostgreSQL, and we have SQL Server. There are other types of relational database, but these are the three types I put here. And for this class, throughout the course of this class, this SQL class, we'll be focusing more on PostgreSQL. So non-relational database, no SQL. They are used to store unstructured or semi-structured data, and they don't rely on tables or SQL. That's why it's also called no SQL. And they are designed to scale horizontally, making them ideal for big data applications. They store unstructured data, but relational database store structured data. A data a data is structured when it can fit directly into a table, when you can organize it directly into a table. But if you can't organize it into a table, it's not structured. And that's when we talk about large, maybe you have image file or maybe posts online that you want to analyze or you want to save in a database. You can't fit them directly into a table. So they are not relational database. And examples of them, we have MongoDB and Cassandra. There are also other types. But for the course of this class, like I said, we'll be focusing on relational database, which is like the most common form of database. And we'll be using PostgreSQL as our database management system. Okay, so introduction to SQL. So when we talk about SQL, SQL stands for Structured Query Language. Structured query language. It is used to store data. It is used to manage data in a relational database management system. So your SQL is what you will use to actually create. Okay, let me go to the next point. It is used to create, it is used to manage, it is used to manipulate database too. So your SQL is what you use to create your database in your database management system. And I said we are going to be using PostgreSQL. So your SQL is what you use to actually create a database, is what you use to manage it, is what you use to manipulate that database. And it is also used to store data. When you create your database finish and you want to store data, it is still SQL. It is the queries you write to actually store data inside the database. SQL allows you to retrieve specific data through queries. It also allows users to query the database using English-like statements. So SQL is actually a very simple, it's a simple language actually, because it's in form of English-like. I don't know if how many of you know pseudocode. If you've ever heard of pseudocode or you can define it, can you please just either raise up your hand and talk or mute your mic? Anyone? Are you guys following? Can I get a thumbs up? So you are following, but nobody wants to actually tell me what a pseudocode is. Okay, have you guys never heard of it before? Nobody wants to talk. Okay. So a pseudocode is also an English-like state. It's also in form of English-like. It's just like when you say, okay, I want to cook. You've never heard of it before. All right, no problem. It's just like, okay, like, for example, let's say you want to cook a particular food and you are saying, oh, okay, maybe rice now. So Sudoku is just like an algorithm. You are writing it down step by step instruction. It's also in form of English. Like you are just saying, okay, number one now, I want to cook this. I'll wash my pots. Number two, I'll put the pot on fire. Number three, I'll pour water inside the pot. It's just like English, like something that even a layman can understand once he or she sees the code, once he or she sees the pseudo code, right? So when we talk about SQL too, you can query the database using English-like statement just like that. You can just say, okay, I want to select this thing from this particular database table. Like it's just so simple that even when you write it down, when you write a simple query, a layman seeing it that knows the name of the table can also understand it. So that's why I said it's simple. Once you are ready to learn and you follow along, you'll understand it. So moving on, we have data types, SQL data types. Those data types are used to define values that a column can contain. So like we saw here, you can see we have okay, let me just start. Employees, you guys can see this employees table here. We have four attributes here. We have I don't you cannot see it very well, but you can use your idea, sure. We have employee ID, we have first name here, we have last name here, and we have birth dates here. So this employee ID now, it has a data type of int. First name has a data type of string, and last name they have data type of string, and birth date has a data type of date. And yeah, we can see int is just integer. It stores whole numbers, like whole numbers in general. Like when you have 2, 4, 5, they are whole numbers as long as they don't have decimal points or any remainder, they are whole numbers. Then we have decimal, it stores decimal numbers, float, store floating point numbers, char stores character, single characters. We have varchar, it's variable length character string. When you can have okay, for example, password. If you are setting your password now, they'll be like it should be capital letter, it should have numbers, it should have special characters. So when you are writing all those complicated strong password, when you are writing something like that, which type of data type would fit in for it? That's when we have varchar. It's a combination. You can use integer, you can use special characters, and you can use normal string text. So text is used to store large amounts of text data. Date stores dates format, and time stores time, date time stores date time, binary stores fixed length binary data. Every column must have a name and a data type in the database table, because if each column does not have a particular data type, it wouldn't actually make sense, because anybody that wants to enter data into the database now wouldn't know that, okay, this first name is only accepting names, only accepting text formats, and maybe under the age part, age should only be numbers that should be there. So you should, to make everything organized, so that when we are entering data, okay, first name is text that should be here, is integer that should be here, and stuff like that. So even when you receive data, and maybe under, which one should I say? Maybe under name now, or username. Maybe your username, you are saying you don't want them to use numbers. I'm saying, for example, and you are receiving username from someone, and the username is like maybe Messi 25, Messi 25. You'll be able to know, okay, this data, if I'm entering this data under this particular column, it wouldn't fit in because there is already a number at the back. That 25, it's a number, and it wouldn't fit in where we have a text. Do you understand? So moving on, we have SQL command types. SQL commands are used to communicate with the database. The commands are instructions given to the database. It's just like that's the language. SQL is the language that the database understands that you want to use to communicate with it. So these SQL commands is now what you will use to actually communicate with the database. They are the instructions you are giving the database. Okay, do this. Okay, don't do this. Do this. This is what I want. They perform specific tasks and functions. Okay, so let me start with DDL. DDL stands for Data Definition Language, and DDL commands. The commands are create, alter, drop, rename, merge, and truncate. So these commands is used when you use these commands, these DDL commands, it will permanently save whatever changes you make to the data. It will permanently save it in the database. So when we talk about create, maybe you're saying, okay, I want to create a database. Okay, I want to create a table. That's what it's for. And when we talk about alter, you're saying you want to make changes to maybe the data type. Maybe you want to change the data type you gave to a particular column or something like that. And when you say drop, you want to maybe delete, you want to delete the whole table, both the column name, all the attributes and the record, you want to delete it, and so on. So DML commands, they make changes to the database. DML commands, DML stands for data manipulation language. So under that, we have inserts, we have updates, we have deletes, and we have merge. So insert is when you're saying, okay, I want to insert, like I said, it's English, like as you can see, even without divining it, you should be able to have an idea of what each of these commands do. When I say insert, that means you just want to insert, you want to bring in a particular data into the database, you want to insert a particular record. When we talk about updates, you want to update, you want to change an existing record, you want to update it. Maybe you set, or maybe you misspelled a name in the data and you want to change the name, you want to spell it correctly this time. You can just use update to update the table. And you can also delete. You can delete specific records. This delete is different from drop. When we go into SQL, you understand better. This delete is different from drop. Like I said, drop is used to delete the table permanently. So when we talk about DCL commands, they are used to either grant or take back authority from any database user. And this CL stands for data control language. So under that, we have to grant and revoke. They are just words and opposites. Grants, I'm granting access to a particular user to be able to maybe edit data in this database. And revoke, I'm taking back my authority. I don't want to grant the person access again. I don't want the person to be able to edit any record in this particular table, in this particular database again. So it's just word and opposite. And we have DQL. That DQL command is used to fetch data from a database. That's data query language. And we have select. Select is what you'll be using most of the times, because you can't write, you can't query a database and not later use select. So select is when you're just saying select, I want to print out, I want you to select this data wherever this condition is true. So I want you to print out records records that are available wherever this condition is true. Don't know how to explain. So moving on, we'll talk about the job market. Now for SQL, yeah, we are just like database and SQL. Let's learn database. Under database, you use SQL queries, SQL commands. But where exactly are we going to be using this SQL, this structured query language? So we have SQL related jobs. We have data analysts. Data analysts, they use SQL to gather insights from data. So if you are planning to be a data analyst, you have to make use of data. You have to you have to make use of SQL, structured query language, to gather insights from data. So like I said, SQL is easy to use. So you having all these commands, you can use it to gather data from, you can use it to gather insights from data and say, okay, like I said earlier, I want to select a particular set of, I want to select maybe, I want to select this record where this condition is true. So you use it to, and when you select this, you select another one again. You can compare the two results and use it to actually gather inside that, okay, oh, based on this, I can conclude that this, when you are, especially when you have large data sets, if you are using Excel, you can't judge, you can't gather insights just checking the whole data, except you use pivot tables or something else. So software developers, they also use SQL to build applications that interact with database administrator. They are the ones that manage and maintain database and ensure that they actually run smoothly. And we have BI developer, also business intelligence developer. They use SQL to develop strategies for data-driven business decisions. Okay, so, and moving on, installing PostgreSQL. Like I said, PostgreSQL is the database management system we'll be using, DBMS. So if you want to install PostgreSQL, you have to go to their website to download it. And when you download it, you have an interface just like this. You open PG admin, as you can
This
see.
has been disconnected.
I said you have to post that the records are live already. Like just check how we're doing now. So
I'm just showing the interface.
so you would have to post that the records are live. You should go ahead and comment and like the video. Just look at that we've been doing it before. So I'm giving you the link already. Or if you still want, you can go to Enoch and still copy the link. It's still the same thing.
Okay. So PostgreSQL just story against for next class. And that's all for today's class. So I want to know if there is any questions from any of you. I guess you.
All right, all right. Thank you very much, Greatness, for that wonderful class. I really appreciate.
I have a
So
question.
somebody asked the question already. All right, Nafisa, do you have a question? Okay, I'm coming. I'm coming. Just hold on a bit. I'm going to answer you. So
Okay, so
I
my
guess
question.
somebody messaged me during the class. Can you hear me, Nafisa? Hold on, hold on. So I'm going to ask you a question, but this question came in first by um Amit. He's asking a question that what what specially, or what is this? Okay, what special feature differentiate SQL from Excel? All right. Tosin, you have a question. I'm coming. So you're going to ask your question after Nafisat. So to answer Amit's question, does anyone in the comments, does anyone in the chat want to answer that? What specially differentiates SQL from Excel? Does anybody want to answer that? Anyone? If you want to answer, just raise your hand. All right, all right. So nobody wants to answer that. Greatness, can you answer that for us?
Okay. So you what feature differentiates Excel from SQL? Like I said earlier, I'm very sure I said it. It's okay, I don't know if you say SQL. When you use SQL handles large amounts of data. It handles large amounts of data. Even Excel can't. And Excel, you can use Excel to handle data to a particular extent. It has limits, but SQL handles large data. And also, when you want to analyze data using, if you use Excel, you can, if you use Excel, you use pivot tables, VLOOKUP, all those functions to actually analyze the data. But what if you actually have large amounts of data? You are using all those, you won't be able to actually gather your insights easily. But when you use SQL, like I said, we have commands, we have queries. You can use those queries to actually just you can use those queries to just you can use those commands to just query the database for a particular set of conditions. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
All right. To add to what Greetings have said, basically just look at Excel and SQL like as if you're having a small pot and a bigger pot, right? A small pot has the maximum limit that food can contain inside, right? But a larger pot can contain larger food, right? So just look at it like that. So Excel has its limit of the number of database it can handle, right? While SQL handles like very vast amount of database. So that's that about that. So Nafisat, go on with your question. All right, Nafisat, are you there? All right, if Nafisat is not there, the next person that wanted to ask question, I think that's Tosin, right? Tosin, go ahead with your question.
Okay, thank you very much. My question is, when downloading SQL, can you please explain the procedures we are going to take for us to download the SQL? Do we need to download MySQL, or this Oracle, a database system before we download SQL? Just please explain how we can download the SQL, the process and the procedures, Sha. Thank you.
All right. So obviously she did not really cover how to download it in detail. That's because this class is just an introductory class. So when you start SQL, you are going to be guided through the process of everything you need to install. So from the link that you're going to get to what you're going to download step by step. So everything will be given to you once you start the SQL class proper. Don't forget, this is just an introductory class. So once we get there, we're going to know how we're going to go about it. So exactly. All right. Anyone? Evaristus, you said you had a question. Evaristus, are
No,
you there?
sir. No, sir. I didn't have any questions, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So Moses, you raised your hand. Kindly go on with your question.
Yes, good afternoon.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Yes, please, my question is actually concerning the types of SQL we are having. I think you made mention of relational database management, rather, and non-relational. But just give us the example of relational database management. That's one that is structured. The other one that is structured. Can you just give us like the example to how it looks like?
All right. Greatness.
I'm sorry, I heard your question. If I heard your question right, you are asking for example of non-relational database.
Yes, yes. If you can at least show us.
I've not worked with non-relational database before, so I don't really know how to answer your question. I don't have an example with me I can show. I've not worked with non-relational.
All right. So just give him an example of relational database. I'm going to explain what non-relational database is.
I've given an example of relational database
Yes,
already. They
truly,
are
I know.
organized into okay.
I did example of relational, what's it called? So I'm just asking for the
All right. Okay, so basically, if you're a data scientist, mostly you're going to be working with relational database. Like mostly, if you're a data analyst, also relational database, you're going to find a slight scenario where you're going to use non-relational database. So non-relational database is mostly used in the web development industry, right? So as you all know that she said SQL and those relational database. For non-relational database, that's where we come into something like MongoDB. If you guys are familiar with web development frameworks, you'll have heard of MongoDB before. So basically, what differentiates relational database and non-relational databases? From the name, you should be able to tell already. Relational database, they are related, right? As simple as that. Why non-relational database, they are mostly not related, right? So in relational database, data are stored in table, right? You can relate different tables by using primary keys, right? Using foreign keys to relate different tables. But when it comes to non-relational database, most non-relational database are mostly stored in JSON format. If you know what JSON format is, you know what I'm talking about. So JSON means JavaScript Object Notation, right? So they are not relatable. Most of them are not relatable, right? So they are stored in an object. If you know what an object means, you should know what I'm talking about also. And if you don't know, don't worry, we're going to get to talk about them when we get to Python and JavaScript, right, and the likes. So basically, the difference between non-relational database and relational database is relational database are mostly related using primary keys, foreign keys, and you can query, you can join, you can do different sort of functions with relational database. While non-relational database are mostly and likely not always related, right, and they're always used in the web dev industry. So I hope I answered your question a little. If not, we'll get to understand and dive deeper into relational and non-relational database when we get there. So does anyone have any question? Anyone else? Or Greatness, do you have questions for them before we end the class?
I don't.
Okay, can someone in the comment section tell me the full meaning of DBMS? Does anyone want to answer that? The full meaning of DBMS? Anyone in the comments? Okay, database management system. I did the Jayamite. All right, very good. Thank you. All right. You guys are following. What's the full meaning of SQL? SQL. All right. I did the Jayamite again. Structured query language. All right, you guys are following. So basically once they're talking about tech stack, right? Once they're talking about text, if you don't know what tech stack means the tools you are using for your tech in your tech industry, right? So if you're a data analyst, you should know the tool to use. And now I'm getting pretty confident that when they ask any one of you that what tech stack is used for a data analyst or do a data analyst use, you should be able to answer them and you should be able to explain what that tech stack is. So when it comes to SQL, you should be able to tell them what SQL is, what it means. When it comes to Excel, you should be able to explain Excel, what it means, and what is used for. When it comes to Power BI or Tableau, you should be able to tell confidently that this is what Power BI is used for, and this is who use Power BI, right? When it comes to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, as we discussed yesterday, you should be able to tell what those tools are, right? So that's basically the usefulness of this introductory class to guide you through to make you to know what tech stack is used in the tech industry, and I hope you guys are getting it. So tomorrow we're going to dive into introduction to Excel and its interface. Make sure you come to the class, don't miss out. And for those that joined the class, you are highly appreciated. I think 15 or 16 people started the class and it's still the same number that's ending the class, so that's highly appreciated. And don't forget, once again, once the video is done and it's uploaded on YouTube, don't forget to drop a comment, to like the video, and see you in the next one, guys. Peace out. Emmanuel. You're welcome, Moses. See you tomorrow's class. Don't come late. Evaristo, see you. Emmanuel, Moses, Ikma, Abdul Fattah, Yusuf, Peace. I think someone is missing. Olasuko is not here. So by with time, I'm going to get to know you guys one by one. I think I know Evaristo very well now. I know Emmanuel very well now. I know Adedeji very well now. I know Ikma very well now. I know Peace and Moses, right? So I know some of you guys very well now. So make sure that you don't miss class every time so I can get to identify you guys very well. So you're welcome, you're welcome. Yeah, bye. Have to find out, bye.